Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett here with my good buddy Blake Siebers. Siebes, how you doing today?
I'm good. It's kind of a weird scenario, isn't it, with all the weather delays and pushing to the weekend and adding an extra day. So we kind of adapting to everything as well.
Yes, we are. We're flexible. We're also, in addition to our flexibility, we're joined by Matthew Sahag, the Titan tactician. Matt, what's up?
Hey, guys. Hey, guys.
There you go. So we're just kind of wrapping up a long week at the Boys State tournament. And we decided we were sort of scrambling yesterday because, people have other activities and things like that they had to deal with. So the 2A sort of postponement, I guess, that pushed the tournament into Saturday and kind of messed with us a little bit. So today it's Sunday morning, and we're just, it's almost like the hangover from the state tournament a little bit, right? Like it's just the three of us here, kind of quiet, as opposed to the excitement and all the fun stuff that comes with the state tournament and being there at MediaCom.
Yeah, no, it's funny, right, Ben? We've one high school coach kind of hassled us a little bit for the lack of pods there late in the season. And I talked to somebody else the other day, and they were like, hey, man, I was just afraid you guys weren't keeping up on things because I love it, but there was a little gap in there. I was like, just be patient. We'll come back strong. And
yeah, absolutely.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, the funny thing about the hangover piece, too, is that, like, we're basically just going on another week-long bender here because we're going to go to the girls' state tournament, and then the World Cup starts, so gluttons for soccer punishment. So let's just talk tournament, right? I guess overall, let's just do a quick, I think that Iowa High School Athletic Association, other than the regional quarterfinal piece, which, I don't know, it is what it is. But at MediaCom, the event was slick. Went really well, I thought, and I enjoyed it.
I thought so, too.
Great weather. And I think they dealt with the postponement and, the weather stuff pretty well. I don't know how else they could have done better. So
yeah, that night, that evening, right? They have a full 4 slates of games. There's a storm rolling in. It looks like it's going to hit sometime mid-afternoon to early evening, and so they just had to make a choice. So the only other option would have been just to delay that final game and wait for the storm to clear and then play at 9 or 10 o'clock.
But they
hopefully.
So they're not able to do that because MediaCom has a restriction of 11 o'clock. They have to be done with everything. Lights off, no sound.
Okay, so then the decision was made for them, right?
Yeah.
So you just push it to the next game. If you're Des Moines Christian, you probably feel a little slighted because you got one day less of rest between your semifinal and final game than Gilbert did, but. It's the weather. It's Iowa.
Well, yeah, and Unity Christian was probably planning to stay in a hotel anyway that night because they were going to be the late game, and they were at least hoping to have won and advance. So I think ultimately, the only thing it does is maybe it doubles their budget if they do win and they have to stay an additional night. But I don't know how they would have dealt
back
that.
in the day, though, the state took care of the hotels. That's why we had to bunk in 4 to the room.
Well,
I'm curious what it is now.
That's also when we were playing, 3 games in less than 24 hours, probably 18 hours. Anyway, so okay, let's just jump in though. So 1A, I'll kind of lead this one because I was calling the game in the booth up there with David Fine, which interesting experience, more or less fun. The 1A soccer was better than I expected, honestly, right? There's a lot of decent club players playing, and I was able to watch some play, one player that's going to go to Grandview that I really enjoyed watching. There were a couple other players that'll play in college. The level was better than I was expecting anyway, so just for whatever that's worth. The final was St. Albert, Council Bluffs St. Albert, the Falcons, against the Regina Regals. They're out of Iowa City, both parochial schools. And it was Regina came into it they had played, they were undefeated. They'd only had one tie all year, and that was against Pleasant Valley, which is a 4A school. And then they'd also had wins against Bettendorf, Muscatine, Lamar's, Storm Lake, some bigger schools. And then they also, Coach Rick LaRue learned this as well. You guys remember, Siebers remembers Rick. he started the program in 1999. He's been there since. He's coached all of his kids, his nephews through the program, and he's made it. This was his 9th state final, and he's now won 9 times, which makes him the winningest male coach in Iowa state tournament history, which is like insane, honestly, right? So like, it's hard to argue with how good they were overall, and they were playing 18, 19 guys a game, so like super deep. And then St. Albert, on the other hand, was rather thin. They probably had like 17 players total. But they were a decent little squad. They were led by Kyle Irwin, who is going to Grandview, and he's a stud. In the semifinal, he had 2 goals and an assist. And in this game, he didn't actually score. They held him scoreless, but he was a thorn in their side and like ultimately brought them back into the game. Like, it was his energy and that made it happen. So basically, Regina comes out. They're hot to start. I guess I literally was the only one who saw this. So anyway,
3-0.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they go up 3-0, but so it's 2-0 at half. They get a penalty in the second half it's 1-0 at half, and then another goal early in the second half, and then a penalty to make it 3-0, and they're all scored by Laird Holden. Laird's going to St. John's in Minnesota in the fall. Pretty two-footed, good on the ball. Obviously a good goal scorer. He scored over 40 goals this year, and then at least about half as many assists. So he dropped deep and create, and he was good. So he had the hat trick, and then it's one of those like typical games, right? You go up 3-0, and then you sort of like take your foot off the gas and just start playing a little bit. And St. Albert's just never quit, and they just pushed and then started to get back in the game. They scored a couple to make it 3-2 and like make it a game, but ultimately Regina saw him out with. I mean, it's high school soccer, right? So like, there's still like chances in the game, but ultimately it was. Regina saw it through. So.
Ben, what do you make of the stat that the Regina goalkeeper had 0 saves and St. Albert had 9?
Well, sorry, I should have said at halftime, literally St. Albert, the Falcons, they had 0 shots on goal. So what it tells me is that in the second half, they had 2 shots on goal and the keeper didn't make any saves. But they literally didn't have chances otherwise. Like they were in and around the goal. They just weren't putting shots on target. So, and maybe this is a good time to shout out the stats, Eves.
Yeah, so I know it's just pretty cool. Presto Sports.
They were doing live stats during the game, so we were like in the booth. We were like, we'd be like, "Oh, let's talk stats at halftime," which was interesting because usually you don't really think of stats in soccer, right? Like you're not like, but then when you see them, you're like, "Oh, well, no shots on target." Well, that's a pretty telling statistic. Or sometimes you look at fouls, and there were like 3 or 4 fouls in the first half, and you'd be like, "Well, that tells me that people aren't getting after the game." And then, in the second half, you see the fouls are like tripled or quadrupled, and you're like, "Oh, well, that means that they got back into it a little bit." So it was an interesting addition. I liked it.
Yeah, it's a little bit college soccer PDF stat, right? They've got shows the duration of the game, who the referees are, and like you said, who got booked, what minute they got booked. So that was pretty cool when I stumbled upon it. That's slick. The only thing they need to change, instead of goaltenders, they might want to put goalkeepers, but
yeah, they can be tenders for the state tournament, for high school soccer. That's fine.
Here's a little tease. It's something I want to talk about is the high school and club debate. So I'm just wondering, did you get stat keeping like by an entity like that in club soccer?
No, but pretty cool. So let's.
They ran through it, didn't they, though, Regina?
They did. Finished the year undefeated. Laird Holden's the all-tournament team captain, deservedly so. So off we go to 2A. 2A was the class of the weather, I guess, right? Because they played up in Gilbert on Monday in the quarterfinals. That was the regional site, and they got rain that day, and I don't know if they ended up having a bit of a delay or not.
They didn't.
They did not.
Was that the shootout?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, Gilbert, right, in that game, they went double overtime.
Yeah.
And then they went to penalties, and it was like extra penalties, right? So it was just a long game for them, a big grind.
And that was that Applington-Parkersburg team.
Appleton-Parkersburg, Dike New Hartford United. Yes.
Whew.
There were some of those boys I saw showed up sometime this week. Kind of cool. But yeah, so they end up right? We watched it here in the shootout, going to extra takers, and then they beat Bishop Heelan 2-0 in the semi. And then, they played that Thursday afternoon game. And
they were able to sneak their game in,
Yep.
and then Des Moines Christian played on Friday morning, and then they had the final then yesterday, Saturday morning.
Yeah, so I don't know what.
Well, so Matt and I went to that one because Siebes was coaching. So let's talk about that one a little bit. Blake, you and I watched Des Moines Christian on Wednesday, whenever we watched them. We watched them in the semifinal, right?
Thursday.
Yeah. It just starts
No, Wednesday.
No, it was Wednesday.
Okay,
It was Wednesday,
remember we watched it and we were
yeah.
sitting with
Yep.
the Garcias and chatting a little bit, and we were kind of teasing about how Sebastian Garcia wasn't getting forward and getting into the game. It was interesting because when I watched them in the final, they're a pretty reserved team, Des Moines Christian, right? Like they attack with 5 or 6, but they're real conservative defensively and they stay home, and that might have to do with the fact that their goalkeeper is like entirely new to high school soccer, right? Like he apparently played some youth soccer, but then hasn't played for years. And at the beginning of the season, the squad didn't have a goalkeeper, and so they just scooped him up, right?
Yeah, and it works for him.
Yeah, he did well.
Right,
I mean, good Lord, he made it to the state final. So what a confidence boost.
I mean, it's also, I get your left and your right back don't necessarily get forward a lot, but it does just give you a little more stability with four at the back all the game long, right? You're not expecting your right and left back to get forwards all the time. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that I agree with it or like it, but Des Moines Christian also in the final, I mean, they're coming on a day's rest, which it's a big deal.
And that Gilbert is like a powerhouse. So
and Gilbert hadn't played since Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's a huge difference in terms of just managing your body physically in the game. And yesterday it was hot. It was a 10 o'clock start, but it was really hot and really humid.
Yeah, I was going to say the humidity.
The fans were just baking.
The humidity was was the baseline, and then when the sun would come out, it was just we were
There's
cooking.
no breeze.
No. No, we found like a tiny little patch of shade to sit in the first half, and it was sort of reasonable.
Yeah.
But then I went and sat on the field in the second half, and just sort of like because you had to go deal with the baby for a minute, and I was like, I'll just go down and get a little sun. This will be fine. And I looked in the mirror this morning and I just got fried like an idiot.
Well, the Des Moines Christian fans
like 30
too.
minutes.
I mean, they sat on the visitors side right at Mediacom, and there's no protection over there. And then you're just on those aluminum seatings, and that is you just got to be baking over there.
For sure.
Well, so Isabel Garcia came over and talked to us, and we were like, "Why are you guys sitting over there? Get under the." Get on the other side where it's a little bit cooler because there's that breeze that comes through the kind of covered area too that gives you a little bit of shelter. But to be fair to Des Moines Christian, they brought a pretty good, sizable fan base. And so to put Gilbert and Des Moines Christian on the same side, they may not have all fit. So I do like to see the two sides too.
Yeah.
Because then you differentiate from the fan bases, and then you can kind of see where all the supporters are.
But it's interesting, too, because I was told not only by Des Moines Christian fans, but then when Urbandale, I think in the final, they all sat over there.
Yeah.
And they were told to go sit over there.
Oh.
But then, but think about when in the final, where was everybody sitting? So, I wonder if it's more like an AD.
Think about
AD
the Hoover
says
crowd too, right?
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
people everywhere.
They did. Well, we'll get to that,
Yeah.
but oh gosh, okay.
Yeah, so
let's
one
talk 2A.
yeah, 2A. Yep.
So Carter Pickard for the Des Moines Christian Lions, he was the goalkeeper that did so well in leading the team with less experience than most would in the state tournament. And then they had that Jace Price, number 5, was a pretty good player. Number 3, Van Mang was a good player up top for him. I'm trying to see if I find the number. Anyway, they had some decent little players, pretty workmanlike in the back, and then a couple flair guys up top. So I think Brian Spring did a pretty good job with the Lions this year, so kudos to him.
Where were they ranked at the beginning of the season? I mean, I don't
we
think
talked
they were
about it,
1
right?
or 2, were they?
The press conference, though, right? They lost 9 starters, something from last
Yeah, it
year.
was-
Seniors, a bunch. So it was, and we talked to him at the round table.
Yeah, he was
way
like-
back.
yeah, he was
and
like,
just didn't really know
we'll
what was
see."
good. Yeah, but
That's
talk
right.
about
That's right.
great coaching performance. He's done
Yeah.
really well, and they're young. Going into next year as well, they're young. So I think
I think they'll be tough next year.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we
Gilbert's
could
is starting a little dynasty up up north of us, but
Well, I was going to say it could be a very similar rematch. We'll see this match sometime next year, I would guess, whether it's in the quarters,
they
semis,
should
or
play
final.
in the regular season
They should.
because they're less than an hour away from each other.
Agreed. So let's quick talk about Gilbert, Dr. J, Dr. BJ Jordison. How many in a row now is this?
2 in a row.
Well, it's 2 in a row, but it's like
4 or 5.
four,
or something like that.
4 out of 5. Yeah. Zachary Schrader with the winner. And let's talk about the winner real quick, Saheg.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those. It's one of those where, like, we're talking about playing out of the back. We've talked about it, and we're going to talk about it more in the pod. Like the decision to play out of the back or to play long, right? I think that is like it's like the question, at least at this level, right? And they chose in the wrong moment to try and play out of the back. Somebody made a mistake, and it falls right to Schrader's feet, and like he's not missing, right? You just takes a touch, smashes it home, game over, and it's like 5 minutes left, 6 minutes left.
Yeah. So
I can check the stats on that one.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's late in the game, so I think there's a little bit more even to the just
less. It was 3 minutes left.
okay. Well, so I would say that, and again, I think this is why the scheduling of these games, like did have an impact on the game. And I'm not. This is taking nothing away from Gilbert winning the game, but
Or the way they did it, right? You're not
Right.
saying it's just the part of the deal.
but it's part of it. I mean, I would describe that game, 75 minutes of it, which is all but 5, as a game where both teams did not get inside the 18-yard box very often.
Agreed.
I mean, I don't know how many shots were in the game total,
I can tell you.
but at the end, for Gilbert, there were 3 or 4, with the last shot being the goal, and they came in quick succession. So it was almost like in those last 6 or 7 minutes, you saw Gilbert assert themselves physically, getting into the final third. And it started with just a little ball that got played across the box, and then Gilbert Stryker got across Sebastian Garcia, and it looked like he just needed to side foot it in, and he pushed it just wide. That was the first shot. Then there was a second chance and sort of a third chance or fourth. I can't remember how many, but the third or fourth one was the goal. And so all of a sudden you just sort of had this wave of pressure where you go, ooh, this looks like Gilbert, maybe sort of a goal might be coming, and it did. But if you think about then that in the context of what the players' rests were, if there was any team that was going to be more physically prepared as opposed to exhausted, it was going to be Gilbert because they were on a couple of days rest, whereas Des Moines Christian played the morning before, and now you're in hot conditions. And so I think that did have something to do with it. I think that Des Moines Christian just kind of lost their legs in the moments that mattered.
Yeah, and they also didn't play a super deep squad. Like they didn't go way into their bench. I don't think so. Like they were a little thin.
They didn't have very many. I asked on Friday if they had like a JV team, because just the number of kids on the bench. They do have a JV, so their numbers are good, but they didn't have the same number of kids on the bench Gilbert did. And then, Gilbert gave away 3 goals all year. So,
yeah. And who was there? Who was they? They lost once
to Perry.
To Perry. What?
Yeah.
Random. Okay. Well, Gilbert Tigers, Dr. J, keep it rolling. And this, honestly, like when we finish up this conversation, when you think about the teams that won, I would love to see just a 4-team playoff of like the Regina Regals, Gilbert Tigers, Hoover Huskies, and Waukee Northwest. I think that would be super fun, and I think it would be pretty even.
Yeah. Can I plug one thing in there, Ben, for that? We are partnering with Top Student Athlete Recruiting and the Des Moines Menace for a high school event. I don't know what the technically
It's an all-star showcase.
Is that what we can call it?
Yep.
Okay. So players, coaches, parents, get on there, nominate, submit the nomination form. But that's going to be here in a couple weeks before the Menace game at MediaCom.
Yeah, Evan will throw the link up on social media, I'm sure.
I've just got one more note too about Gilbert. So they're 18-1 on the season, right? Their only loss was to Perry.
Is there an echo in here?
Oh, did you say that already?
Echo,
I'm sorry. I just sort of.
He was doing the research while you were speaking.
I'm sorry. I wasn't listening to you.
Weird.
What?
All right, let's go to the 3A. 3A was on.
Did you literally just say
Yeah,
that?
you did.
Oh God! So I looked across at your record and I was like, I want to find out who the loss was. I'm sorry, I just totally wasn't paying attention.
Okay, so let's go to the 3A, which would have been Friday at noontime. Ended up being the second game of the day because we did the 2A semifinal before that. But we were treated to
Game of the
tournament for sure. I mean, and this is also like we're saying this knowing that Centennial and Johns who was it that Centennial was losing to? Roosevelt. The Centennial Roosevelt game was like also a really great game.
And West Central Valley's 5-4 win in the first round as well.
But like this
stakes,
one,
right, Ben? The
yes.
stakes because it's in the final. It's got to be the best.
And also like the timing, right, of the whole game, right? So so let's set the stage a little bit. Norwalk, more of a suburban school, just south of town, here in Des Moines, against Hoover, which is on the northwest side of town of Des Moines, like in a city school. They've never won state as a soccer team. Norwalk's won a handful of times over the years, and are a bit of a dynasty. Even though like they could have won more state tournaments, they've won a fair amount. But like Dustin Krolick's been there for 20 some odd years and has done a great job with that program. Like they're just always tough to beat. They're always in the state tournament, even if they're not really that good. They find a way there, right?
Yep.
I wonder how many like state tournaments in a row he's been to. We could probably find that out, but we don't have a stats guy, and that's not up on these stats. Anyway, so Siebes, let's talk about the first half a little bit. It was 2-0 to Norwalk, and they were pretty well in control, weren't they? Like they had a good hold on the game.
It was 1-0 at half.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, then it was an early goal in the second half to make it go.
Yeah.
Because it was 2-0.
Correct. And
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought they were. I mean, you knew it was. I mean, at least I thought, and this is the one time I might be right. Is you knew it was there was gonna be goals in this game. Just because,
I heard somebody say when Norwalk scored the first goal, it was like, well, there's gonna be some more goals in this one now for sure. Because if they were able to just keep it tight, fine, no big deal. But as soon as they scored, Hoover's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, and that second goal was, I thought at the time, was massive because you knew Hoover was going to get at least one back, but that's one where that Scavo got in behind, was brave and came out and like just nicked it past the goalkeepers. He came out, beat him to it, but like it could have been an absolute smashing of two players, but he was brave and got.
Let's talk about that goalkeeper for a minute, Amisi Bita.
Fun to watch.
Yeah, he's super fun to watch, and like. He's built like a football, like a tank. Like he's just like, you could tell he's real muscly, and he's so quick off his line and so quick to get down and so athletic, and he loves a save with a little flair too.
Yeah.
Which I like.
He's the typical goalkeeper, right? That makes more of it than it.
But those are my
needs to be.
favorite goalkeepers. Like as long as they make the saves, I love it when they just like make it look like they're.
There was one
flying
ball
over.
in the second half. He jumped. He could have literally caught it above his head. He jumped so high, he ended up like basket catching it.
Yeah.
Like in his belly.
I
He
remember
jumped
that
so
one.
high. He's like,
It could have gone through his legs like 4 feet in the air.
Yeah, because he's got it freaking hops, man.
There was another one where the ball came across and he jumped early and it just like hung in the air, and then all of a sudden he like pushes it over his head and just sort of like, falls gracefully on his side. It was hilarious. I think, but
He kicks pretty well too, right? Like he's a decent goal. I mean, his only issue is like his size, right? He's undersized, but like he could play at the next level for sure.
absolutely, you'd want him in your team.
I mean, but then it gets to be we love drama on the KIF podcast, I was told,
Sure
but
do.
it's got to come down to this got to be a discussion, talking point, the 2 penalties to get Hoover back in the game.
It's true, right? So it's 2-0 Norwalk, and then Hoover's kind of all over him though, right? And
Naturally.
yeah, for sure. And Norwalk, of course, is going to kind of revert to a bit of a defensive shell. But so we're going. I mean, Hoover's. It's 20 minutes left, maybe like 15, 16, 17 minutes, something like that.
And yeah, you're right. You're on it.
And so let's because I'm trying to remember the two different penalties. The first one, basically the Hoover player is not facing towards the goal, correct? And it's sort of like a weird coming together, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a foul. Like it was a soft penalty, I thought, right? No, what? I mean, sorry, I'm not trying to
Matt's
be
pulling it
critical.
up to
I think
look at it right
so.
now.
The second penalty is a stonewall penalty, and I think the referee does
Is that
really
the
well.
one where they got, again, there's so many goals in games, but like Is this?
Well, Matt's pulling it
No,
up.
this is the wrong game.
But the one was they had to. Was that the? No. Okay. I'm
Okay,
all over the place.
so no, I'm pretty confident in this. Is that the
Okay.
first one was a little soft, and we're kind of going, and the second one was the second one. The referee definitely like went to his headset to
They
talk to
talked.
the AR.
That's right,
but it
there's
was
a
more
delay.
to me. It was more because you're going like, well, I just called one. Can I call another one? And the lino is just like gotta like it's a penalty.
5
Like,
minutes later. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the tricky thing about a soft penalty is that like it just now all of a sudden the magnifying glass comes out on every little thing. I think ultimately like the ref was good, but that was a tricky call for him.
I think Kralik might have a different opinion.
Yeah, no, I understood, but I think it was a tricky
Because he
call.
got booked there, right? At one
that's
point,
true,
or the
that's
bench
true.
did, whoever they do that.
I mean, here's the issue. I mean, at least, well, again, I was like, now I remember I didn't screen grab the penalty. I think I was just watching it live. But as I recall, it looked like there was some ball and then maybe some body after the.
On the second one.
The first,
No, this is
okay,
the
sorry
first
to
one,
interrupt.
the first
That's when the boy went to
Correct.
ground.
That's
He
what
won
I'm
the
saying,
ball.
is like-
that's not a penalty. Now that you,
That's
I
what I'm
remember
saying.
that.
It was like it was not there's no definitive piece there. Like it was
The problem with that
questionable. It
was
gray.
the ball's going away from the goal, right?
Correct.
So in both scenarios, okay. So if you're going to
Well,
give
the second scenario, he's in behind. He's at the end line though. He's not.
yeah, but
like,
isn't the ball going out of bounds?
Wow.
He's faced the
Okay,
the
that's
runners.
that's part of the debate. But he's behind. Like he's in.
Yeah, I just think. I mean, there's
So you think it's no penalties?
no. I think I don't. From where we were standing, I couldn't tell on either one of them. But you know, my point is, the ball is going away from goal in both of them, right? So I think the lesson there is, I mean, you're up 2-0, right? And the ball is inside your box, and if the ball is going away from goal, I mean, you got to think about what type of challenge you're going to engage yourself in, right? I mean, so I get it. You need to have pressure on the ball, but the question for me is, on the first one, did you need to go to ground in that
No.
scenario? The box is crowded. If you get your body in front of the ball, you just sort of. But anytime you go to ground, you're taking a risk.
Especially in the box.
Yeah, and it's 2-0. So even if you give up a goal in the run of play, it's still 2-1. If you give up a penalty there, it's going to be 2-1.
Yeah.
Right, most likely.
Yeah.
And then the second goal, I think, is the even sort of more frustrating one if you're a Norwalk person, because it is going. Again, it's going towards.
It's going it's going out of bounds. This one, right? This one, like he's in behind, but like if you just don't touch him, he might not get there. I mean, like it's not sure, right? We don't know. He's quick, but
Yeah,
I think the ball's pretty quick on that turf.
It's really quick. That's the issue. So, and I will say too, we saw more slide tackles in
I loved
this
it.
week.
I loved it, by the way.
Than we have all season long.
It's like real soccer again.
Exactly, and I loved every minute of it too. But I think the decision, to go to ground and it's inside the area. The other thing you have to think about too is the ball does move really fast, right? So the ability to time a tackle is somewhat challenging.
Correct.
I mean, you can be within a very short distance of a player and think you've got it timed right, and then the player just nicks the ball with their front foot, and all of a sudden you're late.
Yeah.
So that could have happened as well in both of the penalties. Regardless, it's just a really to allow in the final a team back in the game by giving away 2 penalties
Yeesh.
is something they will kick themselves over, whether or not they agree with the calls or not. Because
Well, that's the thing is like usually when there's a penalty, you there's a reason. Like you made it a question, right?
yeah, I mean, right, and I think that to be honest with you, the first one, the whistle gets blown right away, and the referee's right there, and so it's 10 yards away. The second one was very interesting because, like as you've already alluded to, there was a gap of time in between the penalty call, and you could see the referees were talking to each other in their earpieces.
Well, and to your point before, like the ball went out of bounds, so that's why the play stopped. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I wonder if the play had been going, if they would have had the same conversation in the same amount of time. You know what I mean? Like
I don't like it because the lino did not raise the flag.
I don't think it's his
So that's
job.
a foul. If that's a foul, then you put your flag
Well,
up.
no, but he called the.
I don't think so.
he called like a goal kick, I think, because it went off the Hoover player.
No, wait a second. So in that scenario, right? So it's a real problem if the linesman raises his flag and the referee disagrees with the linesman.
No, it's not. You just
Yes.
wave them off.
So-
that happened.
No, 'cause
that happened
this is-
multiple
this
times.
is coming
in the
from
week.
a referee.
You're talking about like 20 years ago when these guys weren't in each other's ears, over and over. Right on top of the play. So my assumption of what was happening is the center referee wasn't sure, and so he asked the linesperson
Who
what he
wasn't
saw.
sure either.
Well,
No,
they
so
were
nobody's
just-
sure,
wasn't-
so you
they're-
can't give a penalty.
But
if
linesmen
nobody's
aren't
sure.
supposed to they don't even raise their flag for offside.
I know, but
No.
if
anymore.
nobody's
Like you
sure.
have to
it's-
wait
if
until
nobody's sure, it's
the
not a
second
penalty.
phase. Okay,
We'll debate this all day. I love it.
I'm with Matt on this one.
Okay.
Rarely,
I-
I'm like not with the referees. I love you referees, but like I'm typically against you.
the whole point is, you have to get it right. That's the issue. So if it takes some discussion to get it right, then that's what you do. Now, I get people want this, immediate, like, well, is it a foul or not? And just how it works. I think there were a number of scenarios where that were fouls that we saw referees allow play to play on.
I thought
and
they
call
did,
it
yeah.
back.
Yeah,
Like
for
in the
sure.
context of a lot of different games.
I saw that
which I think
multiple
is a good
times.
Thing. Yeah.
One quick thing on the penalties to wrap this up. It was interesting. Hoover had their number 9, Andino. Something
He's
like
like
that.
what position did he play? Like left back or
No,
left
he
center
was
back?
kinda, no, he was.
He was
somewhere
deeper in
middle
the
of
field, though, right?
Okay, but he took both, which again was just like two penalties,
Two penalties
in the same game
is a real thing.
Yeah, and he's done well to score both. And then we go
Did he hit
crazy.
in the same place? I thought he hit the same penalty twice.
Tough to see from.
No, it was a little different.
Okay, fair enough. I was gonna say that's
They both went high.
gutsy.
I think one went to the right of the goalkeeper. I'm sorry, left of the goalkeeper, and one went to the right a little bit, but both went high.
Fair enough.
And then the drama continues.
Of course it does. So I will
By the
shout
way,
out
2-2 is what the fans wanted. I mean, the neutrals, like as
for
Stevens
sure.
would say.
For sure. Simbi, number 4, little dude, right? He was playing in our our Harding mini pitch clinics, whatever that we were doing back a few years ago, and he was a little punk, run around. He'd show up with I think literally he was playing in his socks, if not Crocs, and he was still he's tiny, but he's better than all the big boys and good on the ball and real feisty. So I was so pumped to see him score. I don't what year is he? Do we know? I'm gonna tell you because he can't be more than a freshman or sophomore. It's not telling me. Anyway,
I would have it.
yeah. Well, anyway, it's not. Regardless, he was good and he played a lot of minutes and was really good for them. And I just loved seeing an undersized player like that, just do and he fights and scraps.
Sophomore.
He's a sophomore, yeah, for sure. I love that dude.
So what happens, man? He scores, right? And they go up
Scores
3-2.
3-2, and we're like, whoa, wow. Now it's, and then what?
Less than a minute later.
Let's make it 3-3, baby.
So this is the interesting piece, right? Hoover's center back, number 26, I think, the captain.
Ooh, yeah.
Josh Masengo.
Is that who it is? Okay, whoever it is, gets booked for, one can only assume, some kind of celebration after the goal.
Oh yeah.
So he comes off,
That's right.
and again, you don't really know exactly, but it was after the goal, before the kickoff. So something happened because they went berserk. The place went wild.
Whoever I was sitting with said that it looked like he celebrated in front of the Norwalk fans on the way back.
Well, he had
or
half
the
his
Norwalk
fans
bench or
were
whatever.
behind Norwalk's bench.
Why?
So I mean,
Yeah, I don't
I would
disagree with
say
you. I'm
he's
just saying
not
that's what
taunting.
somebody.
He is just.
Yeah, he's just.
How can you not? There were fans everywhere for Hoover.
That's that.
In
And so
every part of the field.
So that was the funniest thing. So ultimately, right, Norwalk scores, then, and we'll talk about Hoover's goal to win it. But when they were when they were up 4-3 and there's a few minutes left, the security team and the AD for Hoover were working so they had closed the way all the ways down to the field, but kids were still jumping the full fence down on it was crazy.
I don't know if I would tell people that, Ben.
Okay, well, hang on a second though.
Because they wanted to be on the field
I know,
with the
but,
team.
The other part that was
don't
great
get
too.
him in trouble. Because I loved it.
Fair enough. I loved
The other
it, too.
part was the coaching staff, right? There were no less than 8 coaches, on their feet, spreading the width of the coaches box, and everyone's just shouting at players. And by the way, you can't
hear anything.
No, because the fans are so loud. And I actually saw this as well in the Des Moines Christian final, where Springer at the very end, they're down 1-0, is trying to get his left back forward. His left back is 30 yards from him. And they're screaming at him, like waving and waving and waving. And the left back is just oblivious because he can't hear it. Finally hears it and he goes, oh, like 1 minute left in the game.
I was literally sitting,
Hoover,
I was like 10 or 15 yards away from Springer and he was yelling and his voice is just like gone. And you can tell he's just like, like he was so frustrated that he couldn't get the message across because it was so loud.
Yeah.
So back, Carlos said the same thing in the Carlos Aspie said the same thing in the 4A
He
finals.
was livid.
He was so mad because he was like, I can't communicate with my players because the crowd is so loud.
He was like
legitimately frustrated.
Yeah, he was not thrilled. Like I can imagine. Yeah, I love it.
When he could communicate with him, then lost 5-0.
Oh, love it. So okay, so that boy gets booked, and he comes off the field, right? And Scavo has a great they play a ball into the target. Scavo does the matrix, just like chest sit and flick on with the chest and angles and scores
like a
goal.
matrix flicks.
Yeah,
I like that.
And all of a sudden, it's 3-3.
Yeah.
And
Scavo's it's sad to hear that he's not continuing to play soccer because he's a good player.
That was really good, like you said.
Like I said, less than a minute later.
But that right back as well, right, was the service in was very, very good. And it's interesting that was their right back. Like, I mean, because he's massive.
Yeah.
He had all the attributes of a center back playing right back, but he stings a really good
So
ball.
now you're thinking it's 3-3.
We're like, well, it's either,
what is going on?
Yeah, exactly. Because remember, it was 2-0 with 16 minutes left or 20 minutes left or whatever. So now all of a sudden it's 3-3. It's gone from 2-0 to 3-3 in like 11, 12 minutes.
And then we talk about your guys' point of playing out of the back.
Back to it.
Unfortunately, the boy just stumbles, right?
Gets keeper makes a save.
Hoover does well to capitalize.
And let's talk about it a little bit, right? Like the goalkeeper kind of like the angle that the defender gives is not right. Like he's not ready for the ball. He doesn't want the ball where he is, in my opinion. Right?
No,
To me, I think he needs to sprint like 5 to 10 yards to his left so he can open up and like not be in front of the goal essentially.
Get the ball in front of
and
himself.
the keeper kind of stitches him up a little bit and he's just sort of in a weird like I don't really think like, it's just it's like a miscommunication, right? It's a miscommunication and it's a bad time to have miscommunication and the Huskies are there to pounce, right? Like
But he had space. It was like I think it was right, not a bad decision to play out. It was just
correct. I just think it was just like a miscommunication, a little bit
deal.
of it was a bit of a technical error, right? Like the player needs to be in a different place to receive it, and the goalkeeper needs to deliver a different ball, right? You can't play. The timing was off by like 2.5 seconds.
So then Hoover. Well done for them. They capitalize, and if you thought it was crazy, wild, then I couldn't. I think I couldn't hear anything the last. Whatever that was, 5 minutes because of Hoover, and we were on the Norwalk side.
Yeah,
just shout. I loved it, but just crazy.
Yeah, it was just an awesome marketing piece for the state tournament, right? Like, what a cool atmosphere. Those kids, even the Norwalk boys, they're gonna remember that for the rest of their lives. And especially those Hoover guys, like that's the first state tournament they've ever won.
Speaking of guys that aren't playing, like Tegan Kralik, like I hadn't seen him play. Now all of a sudden I seen him play 2 games, and it's like, man, he could just to be selfish. I wish he would have gone to play somewhere, but
quick little YouTube shout. Check out our press conference with the Hoover Huskies because those boys are absolutely over the moon. It's so cool to see, and they're just like, it was super fun. I had zero control over that interview.
Yeah, right. The thing I would say about that is just think about when all these goals were scored, and maybe why that is, and then in the context of the game, right? I mean, you're in the state final. You're basically a very large portion of your student base there cheering on both teams, all the parents, the grandparents, the relatives, the friends. You've got the 4A game coming in behind it, so you've got fans literally from all over the state, especially Central Iowa. In that place, you're physically exhausted to the max. You're in your 3rd game of the week, right? And we see then how many goals in the last 20 minutes of the game. But then, the level of pressure for the players then just is, exponentially higher the more and more time ticks by. And so then you think about then that experience for those players as compared to what they might experience in the rest of their soccer careers.
Think about Hoover, right?
It
They're
is-
going to go to
it's
play
unlike it's unlike anything else that they'll ever experience, though, or they have experienced. So when you start talking about, we've got the World Cup coming up, right, on this week, and those players on the world stage with thousands and thousands of fans screaming at them, a lot of the professionals you're going to see do that week in and week out right now. When you go to Old Trafford and Manchester United, I mean, that's the environment those players live in day to day, under the microscope, both on and off the field. Now you bring, and I'm not equating the experience directly to the high school experience, what you just had, but relative to what we see there, think about that moment for those players, the last 20 minutes, and then where we saw players rise to the occasion under pressure, i.e., shooting a penalty and making it, 2 of them, right? Burying the penalty, versus a mistimed tackle or not opening it up quite enough, a ball that gets stung in, and just having the awareness to then, flick it on with your chest to a player that no one else has seen on the field except for you. So there's moments of execution by players in that environment that are just incredible for kids that are only experiencing that environment for the first time in their lives.
Totally.
In 20 minutes. And so, I will, part of the reason I'm saying all that is because, and I want to talk about this more, is because there has been this club versus high school debate, right? And show me a club game where you mix all of those things in that is actually even measurably somehow equivalent to what the professional level looks like, the collegiate level looks like. You can't replicate that in Iowa in the club game of what those kids experience. And so when you're thinking about growth, when you're thinking about personal growth, athletic growth, and performing under pressure, whatever it might be in front of your community for something that means something to you, I mean, why wouldn't you want your kid or your friend or your, whoever, whatever relationship you have with that person, just someone in your community,
your players,
why wouldn't you want them in that environment? And you ask yourself, would you sacrifice what we just saw, like for all of those players, or should they sacrifice that for, traveling to, California,
or St. Louis or Kansas City or Minneapolis, somewhere
over and over again, right? And then, the other thing is, I mean, that's just right at home, like for us, right? So for the players that, for all these high school players and for the parents too, I mean, how nice has it been, I'm assuming, for the last 2.5 months to be in town, right? I mean, check your checkbook or your bank account. I mean, it's probably flush with cash because you're not spending $1,000 a weekend on hotels and gas money and, traveling all over the place. And then, in terms of competition, like in a competitive games, and we're going to get to the 4A final here in a second. I mean, what player, as the Drakes coaches would say, actually were so above the level that they didn't belong in these finals, right? So everybody, I didn't see anyone either. So that every player belonged there. And so when you start thinking about like that environment, there's no substitute for that. And when you look at it holistically, and I think people like if you just take a moment to consider what the last 2.5 months have been like in that high school experience for those players, and then to see it culminate like we saw it culminate in the 3A final, to me, there's no question. There's no debate. So anyway,
yeah,
Sievers
awesome. Agreed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, it is like it gives me goosebumps just like talking about it because I was like, you're sitting there and you're like, this is unbelievable.
Well, and I don't mean to bring us into it at all, but like think about back in 2000, would have been 2002. Sieves, we played against each other in the state semifinal, right? Do you remember that?
I think it was a first round game.
I think it was a semifinal.
Whatever it was.
Well, regardless, we won.
So.
But the like you think about that experience, like that was a great experience and like memorable. But imagine if we played at MediaCom in front of 4,000 people, like or whatever. It wasn't 4,000 people today or the other day, but like there were probably 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there were a lot. But, like, imagine that experience versus what we did. Like, when we were going out to Muscatine, and we were playing in front of your parents and my parents, right?
Oh,
like,
we had some students. Like, I remember there were some students there, but not
our
nearly the
students,
volume.
because that was, like, a big deal for you guys to be at the state tournament,
Yeah.
too, to be fair.
I think that's part of the clubs who are pushing players not to play high school soccer. Part of their problem is they're living 20 years ago, right? Where
Fair enough.
Where I mean, because the environments are it is
Correct, because
better.
it was yeah,
changed.
and if
There's
you went back and you said, could I go play a high school game in front of no fans or a club game in front of no fans? Which one's better? Well, the club game. Like, fine, but man, the experience that these kids are having.
Even on the girls'
literally
side.
every media outlet was there, right?
Yeah.
We saw them all week long. We saw all the camera people. Evan was around them all day long.
And we've got live broadcasts.
Yeah,
Even on the girls' side up in Ames, like that, the championship games inside their Cyclone
So you
Stadium
talk
or
about
whatever they call it.
facilities.
It's awesome.
MediaCom Stadium is, other than the Iowa State stadium, the women's stadium, that field's sweet. But like MediaCom Stadium is the best soccer site
I
in the
think
state.
the Iowa City folks will say. the
Okay.
University- but it's
Maybe,
okay.
okay.
It's close. Yes,
agreed.
I mean,
but they don't have the infrastructure to
Correct.
support the amount of people that can come to MediaCom.
Correct.
So
Here's the other thing too: is like go play that final at Southeast Polk in the football stadium. Go play it
Valley.
at Waukee Northwest or Valley. It's just not the same experience.
No.
The stadium is built for the amount of fans that are actually coming to the game, which gives you a much more sort of intimate environment. I mean, the fans are literally like looking over the benches.
Correct.
Right, which is awesome.
But
Well,
the infrastructure improvements are coming, right? They're working on those new locker rooms, so
Yep.
hopefully that might ease. I don't know if it'll ease anything or not, but like just again another cool little thing they're doing.
yeah, kudos to that stadium and what they're doing there, Des Moines Public Schools and Drake. Even though there's like some controversy between their partnership, I think it's, at least for us, it's working pretty well. So okay, Hoover Huskies making some history. Let's talk 4A real quick. Steve's, you've got your time is numbered, so like let's why don't you give us your thoughts on 4A? So Waukee Northwest against Ankeny Centennial, sort of like a Tate Duax potential Gatorade Play of the Year. One of the guys that everybody's talking about. He scored a bunch of goals, played in the Austin FC Academy coming up, going to Northeastern University in the fall, which is a D1 program in Boston. So everybody had their eyes on him, right? Good supporting cast around him. Brock Brazo and the like, they were good. And then with Waukee Northwest, everybody's talking about Eman Alicic, I think is how you say it. Sorry, Eman, if I'm saying it incorrectly. But he, sophomore, with some similar background, was down at Sporting KC for the past few years, it sounds like, and then back in the mix here. And he was kind of like their main man, yeah?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. The first half, right? I don't know what you guys thought. I mean, the crowd was good. It was interesting. They're playing not at 7 or 7:30.
Yeah, 2:30 is
I wish it would have been the nightcap.
Dentist's favorite time.
It is a dentist's favorite time, Ben. You are correct. But I don't know. Just kind of, it was hot, right? And they had a water break, and I think that just kind of provided the reason for not a lot of action, not great chances.
I thought it was interesting. You asked that question at halftime to both Duax and Carlos, and they both sort of like, they kind of waved it away. But I think you're right. Like, it seemed like it just took the sting out of the game. Like, it's sort of building, and they go, oh, let's take a break. Right?
Yeah, and it's almost, we talked about it last year, right? The Van Meter final, they used a ton of subs, and that water break almost makes it I don't know if I would sub as many times as normal, just because you've got a break in the middle.
I can't remember who, if we were talking about this or who was talking about it, but they were saying that, with Dan Rother, he said he had I think it was his own kid actually. His own kid doesn't play a ton, but like usually he gives him 5 or 10 minutes in the middle each half to give his, he's understudying for the starter, give that guy a break. But with the water break, he's just like, no, you're not going to play because the kid gets a break anyway. So that makes a difference.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I thought the one boy, it was pretty funny. Brody Lind, whoever that student is that posted that response to my comment, you guys losing, we will take that student next year on the state tournament coverage, because that was a great video.
Yeah, for sure.
He was actually, I hope he's playing somewhere, because I liked him as a player, like a good little crowd. Again, he came off, though. I wouldn't have taken him off, but I just had to say that because that was good. The video.
Well, and that's what's funny about it is like when we had our press conference, the guys were giving me a hard time about like picking against him. It's like, well, guys, you lost 5-0 or 5-1 to Centennial during the year. So like that's literally, even if I've gone to every single one of your games and I've watched you guys and I think that you're good, I'm still looking at that going like, well, you lost 5-1 or 5-0 to this team already. So why on earth am I like, I'm sorry. That's just like, if I had money to bet on those games, I'm not putting it on a team that has lost 5-0 to the opposing team. It's just not the way it works.
Yeah, so then Centennial comes out right away in the second half, right? And then absolutely a great run by Duax to get in behind, I thought. And then our buddy...
he's done really well.
Yeah.
Laser cross.
I think it's Dallin's boy scores a good little goal.
Oh, it was Dallin's boy?
Yeah.
It was a great finish.
Yeah, and it was... now again, the place went... It was rocking, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was. I mean, I thought it was another really good atmosphere. I mean, back to the Milwaukee Northwest, the first matchup of the season, I think the point there is it really doesn't matter what you do in what I would call the preseason of high school soccer, which is every single game that's not a knockout game. It matters if you're peaking at the right time, right? And so if you look at what Joaquin Northwest has just done, I mean, they play a sub-state final against Lincoln and win 1-0.
Yeah.
Right? Then they go Johnston penalties, right? They win in penalties. Then the semifinal, they beat Urbandale 1-0.
In a penalty.
With a penalty. And so, when you're looking about performances,
it's a tournament team,
right? It's a tournament team, but it's also a team that performs when it matters, and just in the close little margins, right? You only have to win 1-0. You don't have to beat a team on penalties. And realistically, the final it read 3-1, but it was 2-1 except for the final goal, which happens when you're
a couple minutes left.
When you're looking for a couple of minutes, but for me, I thought the final was a really good performance by Joaquin Northwest because it was more of the same in terms of how they've approached each one of the knockout games, which was doing
difficult
enough,
to break down.
and doing enough to win.
Let's talk about the penalty though.
Well, okay, so before we talk about the penalty,
sorry, Ben.
1-0 Centennial, then Northwest claws it back. How quickly after, Siebes? Pretty quick.
It was like within 10 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes.
7 minutes. Sully Irvin scores to make it 1-1. And then this is where then we go to the penalty, right? So it's 1-1. And then within another 5 or 6 minutes from that, this is one that I'm like, I don't love this as a penalty. Guys, I love you, but I don't love this call.
And they clearly talk to each other.
The referees.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, but so again, this is another situation where like he clips him, he's going away from goal. It's definitely like maybe on a different part of the field it's potentially a foul. But he's running away from goal. There's no chance. It just happens to be in the box, and after the contact he kind of makes a meal of it, right?
The Centennial boy kind of ran around him, and like it's exactly what he clips the heel.
Yeah, like it's just such a like. I just think he makes a meal of it. Like I think
he's smart.
I'm not taking anything away. Like it's not bad that the player made a meal of it. I'm just saying that guys ate it all up. The center ref, right? He was just like,
Yeah, I just don't even like the ball was an
we're watching
ball. Like he's not going anywhere, and he can't. That's why he goes down because he can't do anything with it.
Correct. Yeah, he's just like, well, I might as well try and get something out of it, and that's the thing. It's just so tough because he's not even within the frame of the goal, right? He's like on the edge. He's like out wide, right?
Yeah, and I think Geezer does. He at least whistles it right away.
Yeah.
So I'll say he's confident.
He's confident about it. I just don't agree with it, right? And this is always going to be something that like refs and players and coaches don't agree on, right?
100%.
So I'm not trying to go at guys necessarily. I'm just saying if I'm the ref, I'm just going, okay, let's just let that play. No big deal.
Nobody argues though either, right?
That's true.
I mean, really argues.
Well, actually, that's not.
I know, but like
true,
that's
'cause
not a huge. That's not arguing for a penalty.
All right, let me give you my thoughts.
Here comes
we go.
referee
Yeah.
Matthew.
Yeah, here we
Right.
go.
Well,
Seems you better roll.
I know.
so I mean, first thing, right? So this originates with a clearance from the player for Centennial who ends up fouling him, right? And so to be fair to him, he does a pretty good job of getting a foot out and clearing it. But here's what I think. Here's a player that would probably fall under the radar in most people's analysis here. It's the player that gets the third goal for Joaquin Northwest initially, but it's number 28. He's got a short buzz cut, blonde hair. As this ball
He's
gets
scrappy.
As this ball gets played, he is sprinting back. The Centennial guy on the second ball misclears it, and he goes up for the header and wins it, right? So then what happens is the Centennial players are all watching the ball, and including the player that's just with the kind of the bushy hair at the back here, and the striker runs right in behind him. He's not watching the ball. It's a really good run, but now all of a sudden the center back, right, has got to do
Danger.
something to get goal side, and as he does, he clips his back leg, right? And so then here's the decision for Joaquin Northwest player is, do I stand up or go down? Now, I think he could have stayed up,
Right.
and he takes 3 more steps, boom, now he goes down because he realizes it's going for a goal kick.
Correct.
So I do think it's a foul.
It's just so hard when,
It's
when it's
a
a
nick.
foul versus in the box versus out of the box. Like,
I
yes,
know.
it's a foul, but
It
is
doesn't
it a penalty?
It doesn't feel good, but I mean, there's another center back as well behind that player who should have been the covering defender, who should have dropped off into the back as well. So you've got 2 center backs who I think are watching the ball while the Joaquin Northwest player is
So you're
making a
saying ball never
blindside
lies. Like they're
blindsided run.
defenders are making mistakes. So like
I think they made 3 and 4
and
mistakes.
He's
there.
doing all the right things, right?
Right.
They've got guys running back, winning the ball, challenging to like keep the play alive, and they've got players optimistically running into space.
Right, and that number 28 for Joaquin Northwest. I remember one play in the game where I watched him like literally sprint as hard as he possibly could for 50 yards to try and win a ball, and
See
I can't
the dude with
remember.
the blonde hair? Is that who you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, the level of effort that he was making. If you're making fun of me, sorry, but
No, because he was like I was just gonna say like he wasn't like and we'll get to it because right he scores the 3rd goal and it's like he runs so hard to get there but then he like kind of chunks it a little bit and
Thought he missed, and then-
he might have hit it twice like he sort of duffs it but it like and the guy slides past it and it just like dribbles into the goal.
Yeah, he totally deserved that goal too. Like he
100%.
deserved to have a good
yeah would not take that
to
away
get
from
the
him.
benefit of a bad
all of
touch.
his, and all of his great work
Totally.
and great celebration too by the way. What a little full. Did you see his backflip?
Oh, I didn't
In
see
tight
that.
space, in really tight space. Like he's got the whole team around him, and the camera guy came up right behind him, and he goes to flip, and the camera guy like had to like get out of the way. It was sweet.
But on that penalty goal, if he doesn't like run as hard as he possibly can and win that header, it
Jose
doesn't happen.
Vinales is his name.
It doesn't happen unless he does that. And so he to me is the playmaker for that second goal. And then it's Iman, right?
Yeah,
And then he just did what he did all week, which is bury penalties.
yeah. I liked him as a player. I don't know that he's a winger though. That's just not where he fits for me. I'd probably have him in the middle of the park because he's good on the ball, big guy.
Yeah.
Seems like he's got good distribution, likes to get forward. But who am
Right.
I? Who am I to argue with Carlos, who's just won the state tournament?
Right.
And put him in the right place, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, he's ice cold when it comes up to penalties.
Right. So here's the other thing I'd say about that 4A final too is what it meant for those players on both sides of the ball to actually win that game, right?
And coaches.
And coaches as well. And let's just talk a little bit about the staffs that we had out there, right? I mean, you've got Brian Duax. I played with him in college. Been coaching now. His kids.
He won a national title in high school, was the top recruit for Drake University, and had a very successful 4-year career there as far as like
right.
playing, contributing, being a stud.
Yep.
And he was like a role model for me.
Right. And now coached, 2 of his sons. Both of his sons are Division I athletes. I mean, Tate will be a Division I athlete next year.
Ty
already is. Tate's also had experience in the MLS academies, living down in Austin. Arguably he's going to be the Gatorade Player of the Year this year, maybe.
Yeah, he's definitely up for it.
And so, and then has built a program now at Centennial that's been back to the final, I think twice now, right? Unfortunately, hasn't won it yet. But and then he's got a strong staff of support underneath them, and then he's had a strong staff all along though too. I mean, Daryl Brazo's son, Brock, is also in the team.
Another player that should be playing
right
in college.
Very, very good player, impact player. Won the game for them in the semifinal when he came back on the field. And then, of course, his dad, I saw him there. Daryl's watching the game and has had a hand in that team in previous years.
Yeah.
And a lot of these boys' development as well. And so you've got a great experience for these kids coming through the Centennial program in now a program that is like a seasoned program in terms of their expectations of who you are as a player, and then winning versus losing. I mean, when your coach wears a T-shirt that says win on it, that's the messaging we want to go to these young kids. It's not win at all costs, but it's we're here to be a program and to win,
strive
to win. Yeah. And so you've got Centennial, you've got and then all those players as well. And then on the flip side of it, you've got Carlos Asabi, who now is won, I think, his fourth state championship.
Because he won three with original
Waukee.
Waukee.
Right. And has had Waukee Northwest close in previous years, and year to year is back. He's also the executive director at VSA Rush, right? And so he's got a huge hand in youth development here in Iowa. And the players that come through VSA Rush, the club system, but then also the hundreds of players that play at Waukee Northwest every single year. He's got an assistant named Jack Andrews on his team, who is a Sporting Iowa coach, who I believe is their technical director. So if you look at the hierarchy, Jack, I think, is probably the third guy, executive director in Shedsy. Bywater is the director of coaching, and then Jack Andrews is the technical director. So he's got his hand in the development of at least some of the players at Sporting Iowa, but then obviously the Waukee Northwest players there. And so what I'd add about that is we talk about the environment in the Hoover game, but the environment was almost just as good as that 4A final. And what we saw at the culmination of that game is basically players and coaching staff, and specifically I'll point out Jack Andrews,
elated,
who was so overjoyed that he was just sort of fist pumping as the clock wore down. He was fist pumping like this sideways, raising his hands to the air, his eyes in the air, his hands in the air. And then before the even whistle blew, he sort of did one of these back up and he just laid on the ground, collapsed. And you have Northwest coaches hugging him. The trainer had to help him up. And then he goes and embraces Carlos Asabi. And so you see what that moment in front of the entire community, and the culmination of working with these players since they were probably 7, 8, 9 years old into an environment that actually meant something for them as the underdog who came in and won it. And so again, here and let's just be very matter of fact about it. This is we've got Jack Andrews at Sporting Iowa, who is elated for his team as he should be. And we see what it means to him. And then we have Trevor Neary on the girls' side saying, don't go have that experience playing the Super Cup. And so you've got to figure out sort of these.
If you don't know all, they both coach at the same club.
Yeah,
that's all.
Right. And so you got to figure out that sort of piece. But again, I'll just say this. I mean, why wouldn't you want to have the experience that Waukee Northwest just did? And even though it hurts like a lot for Centennial, I mean, it's the same. You're just on the wrong end of a score line, but the experience, oh my goodness.
Well, and you also
it's been great. It was great.
So you say, so like if you're a club coach, right, you could make the argument, okay, well, fine, fair enough. So like if you go to Centennial, you go to Northwest, that's a great experience. But what if you go to, I don't know, let's say you go to Valley this year. Valley loses in the sub-state final and not a super positive year for them. But they also they won their sub-state semifinal, and you see the picture of the boys after the game.
Yeah.
And it's like they've won the the World Cup, game of the World Cup, right? Or, whatever, right? They're just they're through the moon. And you think back, I don't know, I mean, I've got wins in my head from as far back as being like a single digit child that I just remember being like, that was important to me. Or, you know, and it doesn't even have to be sports related. It's like, well, I played in a concert, or I went and I had this cool experience. But those are just going to be like mile markers for these kids of just like, wow, like I achieved something.
Right, right. Think about then too as a player. I mean, what do you think every single one of those kids did, like after the game, like immediately?
Call their mom or dad, probably.
Well, I think they probably got on their phones.
Oh, yeah, probably posted it.
And they watched like how, like, the games are viral all over the place.
That's true. It's a different time. I called my mom and dad.
Yeah, I mean, mom and dad were probably right there, but like, you know, you just like you look at our page. I mean, the amount of views and engagement we've had in some of the videos that, you know, our video team led by Evan has
shout out Killstrom Creative
has been unbelievable. But what an awesome thing! Like you get to live it, and then you get to experience the video and the stories afterward ongoing. I mean, KCCI is there, WHO is there, right? All the major media outlets are covering those games. And so literally there are
and Iowa High School
hundreds of
Athletic
thousands
Association.
Right.
Like, let's just sorry, because like their clips that they were putting out of games were really, really good too. Like, just I'm not trying to. Obviously, I was in the broadcast booth, but
totally.
But like, they were really good.
And there's clearly some dollars flowing into this now. I mean, when you see some of the sponsors, right?
For
like,
sure.
You've got like a dairy sponsor. You've got.
Oh, how about that? Let's talk about
Star.
that. Let's talk about the dairy sponsor real quick. They were the dairy princesses of the year or something.
Yeah, something like that. They
were giving out chocolate milk after the 3A game, and the boys were like, "Hell yeah, I want some chocolate milk."
It was great. Yeah. Quick Star Player of the Game, right?
Yep. Musco Spotlight Player of the Game.
You have
the Delta Dental Keys to the game.
Fairway, I think is Fairway.
Fairway is a part. Well, Fairway's a sponsor of the MediaCom Stadium.
Okay.
Right, but then you had Hy-Vee, you had Farm Bureau, Iowa Bankers Association, Cookies barbecue sauce. Like smart cookies, used cookies is what they said.
Right.
But so you get lots of sponsors really seeing some value in this, knowing that like people are watching. And I wonder how many people are listening while they watch too, like live.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you got Bound too, where everyone literally can go track what's going on. You get to know, teams' records, how they performed against other teams. You get to see the players. I mean, I know we got chirped Dowling girls in the season because we didn't have our stats updated in time. And so, people are watching it, and then you just have the reproduction of all this film over and over and over again, right? It's not a. I don't think it's overstating it to say that there's millions of eyeballs on these kids in a 2.5 months time frame.
Yeah. Well, we're getting
cool.
Some of the views we're getting on our little reels are, like in the 20 to 30,000 views, and just in like 24 hours. So. If you do that math over the time, there's some demand there.
Right.
Well, okay, like there's some real demand. Anyway,
right.
so ultimately, like, great week, super fun. We should one more time give a shout out to Evan Killstrom Creative over there and his team, right? Dan Menon, Austin Lumberg, right. Chase Modlin. They were rock stars all week, braving the sunshine. Yeah, and awesome work for us.
Yeah, and we love it too because 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even more than that.
It was like me and Blake.
Yeah, well, we were initially just like we would bring our phones to the game and get clips, and then Evan came on board, and it was just Evan, and then so Evan's trying to figure out how to shoot and do press conferences and get organized, and we're loading up trucks and all this stuff, and then this year we had a whole team of shooters. And then, it's just it feels like, we're doing a better job year to year of covering this stuff and having a lot of fun doing it. I love looking out and seeing like we got, people placed all over the place, get literally every angle of every play.
Yeah, it's so fun. And the relationships that we've got and the friendships that we've got with just all these coaches and former coaches and parents of players and just like like there's that moment where because we've got these like the all access pass, right? There's a moment where you can be like, well, I can walk in the front of the stadium, walk all the way to the north side and down the steps and like get down there for the stuff that we do on the field, or I could go around to the north side and just like walk right in. Because if I walk in on the south side, like it's going to take me 20 or 30 minutes because I'm just going to see a bunch of people that I know and love and I want to say hi to and chit chat with.
Right. I do. I like the interaction too. Someone, we talked about, I think it's Brody Lynn's mom chirped us on her social media, which I think I'm there for that every day of the week. I think that's awesome. I love it. We love it when people. We love it when people engage with us, whether or not you agree with it or disagree with it. We've had some of that all season long. We just think, the game is a game of opinions, right? And we've got ours, and everybody else has theirs, and we
don't always agree either, do we?
The more engagement that you guys want to give us, we feel like that's sort of just furthering, why we do this and why it's just a really fun hobby for us.
Well, if you like what we're doing and enjoying some of this stuff, please sign up for our golf outing this summer, July 17th. It's a Friday. It might be a little hot, but we will have a heck of a lot of fun. We'll be out at Toad Valley. Even Matt has fun on that day. And then also just a quick little plug for the high school all-star showcase that we're going to be doing. That's actually before our golf outing. That's on June 27th. That's before a Menace game. There will be college coaches from all over the region there. It's being run by Top Student Athlete Recruiting. Dan Rothert, our buddy over there in Dubuque, who has done a similar event in Illinois, and it just crushes. So we're hoping to do something similar here in Iowa. So if you've got players that you think might be eligible, go ahead and apply. Otherwise, Matthew, great week.
Yeah, let's do it again this week.
See you up in Ames.